Now let's suppose that you should want to learn my name. Okay, want to remember that. So let's add an instiller here, and we'll select name. Well, this is person, organization, or artifact. Okay, so my name is this. All right, now how are you supposed to remember that? It would help to have a mnemonic. Now you need to write a description for me, and what you write depends not only on who I am, but how you know me and why I matter to you. So I can't predict that, except for the fact that I'm an author of a book that you're currently reading. So I've just pasted in my affiliations, right? So I'm an adjunct prof, Simon Fraser University, and I'm co-founder of CogSci Apps, which, by the way, makes the excellent app My Sleep Button. You might be interested in that. Okay, so if you look at all that, you might say to yourself, okay, well, this person is really into using cognitive science and technology to help people improve themselves, right? That is actually relevant to the mnemonic that you might use. So I'm going to add a little mnemonic here for myself. Now, if you don't speak French, this name might look a little bit strange to you. Sorry to say. However, Luke is pretty close to Luke in English, L-U-K-E, right? And we know Luke Skywalker, right? Now, the question is, can you make a link? Because we're building a mnemonic here. Can you make a link between myself and Skywalker? Of course you can, because I'm into helping people improve themselves, become cognitive Jedis, right? So that could be part of the mnemonic here, okay? Cognitive Jedi Maker, right? Now, then you're looking at the second name. It might be that the first name is enough if we're going to meet at a cocktail party or whatever. But the second name, can I help you with that? I think I can. So let's take that first name and break it down into two pieces. Bull, well, if you've seen a picture of me, you probably realize or believe that I'm Bull. So there you go. Sorry for being boastful. That also rhymes with, so you can say, oh, he's boastful. That could be a cue, boastful. And that's how Bo is pronounced. And Dwayne, well, that is not very, it's not very English, is it? So let's make it a little bit more English. Well, how about the word loins? That is very shocking, right? And that's exactly what you want in a mnemonic. You want something shocking, right? So if you can connect these ideas together, okay, cognitive Jedi, beautiful guy, beautiful loins, well, there you go. You should be able to remember my name from now on with, here's the ticket, right? You need to practice a couple of times in order for these things to work. So let's start by adding this name. And do we have anything else we want to write? Oh, you could write, if you wanted, authors. You know, if you're remembering people's names, say, okay, well, that's an author. So we'll add that. And let's just take out anything from the description that might act as too much of a cue. We don't want, when you're presented with a description to name challenge, you don't want to be cued too much, right? Because that's not really fair. So let's take all this stuff out. It's not that it's not really fair, actually. It's just that that information won't necessarily be available to you at the time at which you try to remember the information. So that would mean it would be kind of useless, right? And that's why we're building in this mnemonic. And I'll get to that in a second. Let's start by adding that information. And then let's browse it here. Okay, can we browse that? Oh, names. Here's name. So we get 3 cards. Let's preview them. Okay, so Luc Baudouin. Okay, this is who this person is. And notice that you're given the mnemonic. So actually, what you should be trying to do mentally when you're presented with the name of the person is also, if there's a mnemonic, to try to remember the mnemonic, right? Because this is actually how you're going to be getting to this. So in a sense, the mnemonic should be presented first, or could at least be presented first here, right? So you want to go from here to here to here. Okay. So let's look at a different one. Okay, what name goes with this description? Well, and notice that the mnemonic again is presented because you want to do the mapping again. Now, here's a different challenge where you're saying, okay, what person has this mnemonic? Luke Skywalker, Cognitive Jedi. Okay, so this is kind of giving it away. This is probably giving away a little bit too much, okay? So we'd probably want to change that here to remove this and that, and maybe put it in a different field so that when you're practicing, you're not given too much information, okay? And that you can easily do by going back here, for instance, okay, in your mnemonic field, and you might put some of this information in the instiller notes, because remember I said the instiller field is information that you're not going to be practicing with, so it's not going to show up in your practice, but it will be available to you should you want to look at it. So you could say this might just become here, beautiful loins. Okay. There you go. That should help. Now, because you can easily find pictures of a lot of people online, particularly people who have written books, so you can use Safari to find information about me. Look at that. That's easy to find. I can copy a screenshot of the selected area. That was a launch bar shortcut, which I often use, very handy. So I'm going to copy this picture of myself. Okay, now I'll go back to Anki, and I'm actually going to paste this in. And we're going to deal with the spacing. You don't really need to know the website, so we're cleaning this up. Now we can preview this, and there you go. So you can use either a bit of information to map onto the person whose name you're trying to remember.